Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Mystic in Training podcast with me, your host, Melissa Amos. At the time of recording this, everybody seems to be speaking about the year of the fire horse. It is in every social media post, discussion forum, spiritual space, secular space, and everywhere in between, as far as I can see. And naturally, this conversation about what do we know about Chinese astrology? Are we even qualified to speak about it when it is certainly, for me anyway, not in my lineage, not in my culture, not in my learnings or my studies? I am not a feng shui person, I am not an astrologer. And it has led to some very interesting discussions. And I thought, let's bring it to the Mystic in Training podcast because this is exactly what it means to be a mystic in training. Being a mystic in training is not just about taking what you know and developing that further. It is also really understanding about how we respond to the collective, like what is going on around us and how it is that our lens of the world and our learnings and our perspectives all shape how it is that we are responding and reacting to that. And then the mystic part is choosing to make this bigger or deeper or use it as a growth tool rather than just, which is, I think, where a lot of the contention around what people are saying about the fire horse right now, rather than regurgitating what it is that we know. Now, my perspective, when I was having this discussion with some other incredible spiritual teachers, one of whom is a feng shui consultant and very learned in the field. And people of varying traditions and backgrounds. And the general consensus was, well, if we don't know about it and if we haven't learned about it, and if this isn't our area of expertise, should we really be going on social media, for example, and acting as if it is our expertise? Should we be going on our social media and speaking about it in any way or form if and when we are in some form of authority figure? So we do have a spiritual business, we are kind of leaning towards that way. The general public may think, well, she does Reiki, so she must know all about Chinese astrology, which makes no sense. But this is how we categorize things. Oh, she runs a spiritual business, so she must know. And the danger comes, I think, when we don't know, and then we are creating this narrative based on a perceived authority that we don't hold. Now, I completely agree with that. I think that we shouldn't be acting as if we are the authority in a piece that we don't know about, especially if where we have got our information from is ChatGPT, TikTok, or Facebook. But these are all platforms that I use, and it's all places where you can get great information, but no due diligence. And often, and this is what I've seen, it's just regurgitated stuff. Now, where do I sit with this? So Tuesday, which is when the Chinese New Year fell, the same time as an eclipse, the same time as Pancake Day here in the UK, which is the beginning of Lent, which is the descent into who we know ourselves to be, really, and Ramadan. And there's much going on that day. And I could feel, and maybe this was because I kept seeing it collectively and I saw so much speak about it. I don't know. But I could feel it was an auspicious day. There was something about it. And it just so happened to be the day that I had arranged my one-to-one with one of my spiritual mentors at his house. And I thought, wow, there's clearly this is a day for reflection and for purpose and for intention. Now, I did read from various feng shui and Chinese astrology sources about what's good to do. Don't wash your hair. Okay, that's easy. Don't do cleaning. You do not have to tell me twice. Wear red. I'm like, okay, this all feels good for me. Why wouldn't I listen to the wisdom of the centuries, even if that particular stream hasn't come from my ancestry? It's still a collective feeling. It's still what's happening. And we can kind of see this with all of the other things that seem to fall on the same day, which have come from different cultures and different religions and different parts of the world, but we're all speaking this same language, just in a different form. And so, yes, I did all of those things. And did they make magic happen? I don't know. But I kind of felt like because these things came into my awareness and because they were available to me and because as I did it, it felt good, I thought, okay, let's go with it. And I suppose these rituals and these ways of being, they come from somewhere, but it's more about why are we doing this? Was I not washing my hair because I thought, oh my God, if I do, then all my luck is going to go down the drain for the next 12 months? Am I wearing red because I think that, well, oh my God, if I don't, then, if I wear black, don't wear black, it's the color of mourning, and you're going to be mourning for a whole year, and I'm in fear of that, then that's a whole different energy. I'm respecting a tradition. I'm understanding that there is a philosophy and a ritual around these events. And for me, it almost felt like, well, by bringing it into me, I'm honoring that. But I think it crosses a line when we claim it as our own and we claim it as an authority piece. And if I'd have come on here and gone, like, make sure you do all of these things. However, here was where the discussion got interesting. So, if I start speaking particularly about the fire horse, because that is what has been, I think, most prominent, certainly for me in my field. Let me know if this has been the same for you. So many people speaking about it and what it means. And we've just come from the year of the wood snake. And I remember last year, it was the first time that I'd really paid much attention to what the animal and the element was. Now, it may have been that I'd spent the previous around 12, a little bit longer months, working with a Shaolin master as one of my mentors. And again, I didn't make the connection there, but we'd been working with Chinese medicine and I'd been becoming familiar with how the different elements respond in my body. So again, it was this response of how is my body, my mind, my learnings, my psyche relating and responding to the information that's out there. Now, I remember last year, for the first time in my membership soul space, doing a call on the Chinese New Year, honoring the wood snake. And I was running a meditation and I didn't quite know. I was letting myself be led. I didn't quite know where it was going to go. And I did a little bit of research into the significance and the symbology. And something really interesting happened in that channel is the wood snake came on as one of our allies. The wood snake presented itself and almost said, for want of a better term to me, I'm here by your side. Now let's work together. And what happened during that call and during that meditation was that we created, maybe not created, we welcomed in the energy of the wood snake and all of it, all that it represented, and brought it on as one of our allies. Now, this didn't happen in isolation. I've been working for some time with my spirit team, and one of my teachings in both psychology and in spirituality is about the inner boardroom. And I think we have a couple. We have our inner world and our inner voices and our inner parts, if you like, from a psychology term. But we also have our spirit board, our spirit team. And we often talk about our spirit team and our spirit guides, but one of the things that I love to do on a fairly regular basis is to go up into the spiritual boardroom and have a chat, have a meeting. Okay, what's going on? It's a great time to do it around your birthday, around a new year, around a new moon. That I don't think there's a set way, but there's these significant and auspicious times where these things become easier and they become more supported. And this spiritual board, I think, isn't just about, well, who's here for me? It's also about who do I want to bring on? And there's various ways that we can do this. And I did run a training on it in Soul Space some time ago. And I think it still remains one of my favorite trainings in that space. But what happened last year is the wood snake came on and then slithered with us for the next 12 months. And it helped. It became less victim about, well, the snake is making us shed all of our old things, and oh, it's really fierce, and oh, it's making me do these things. It's not. But when we understand that these things are happening anyway, the wood snake came in, the fire horse came in anyway, the eclipses are happening anyway, Lent is happening anyway, Ramadan is happening anyway. And of course, us humans, we are receivers and transmitters. And if there's something going on in that much of a collective, it's going to have a ripple on the collective consciousness. And whether we like it or not, we're tapping into the collective conscious and the collective unconscious all of the time. It's natural. And some people are really good at this, and we know them to be our psychics, for example, and our fortune tellers, because they can feel consciously what's going on. But even if you can't, it's there, it's happening. But where the discussion became very interesting for me was what my perspective in this was, but it's not just about just tuning into the collective unconscious and collective conscious and bringing that in and responding from that. It's then tapping into, which is my skill set, tapping into the higher realms of that. For me, tapping into the Akashic record of that. For me, tapping into the highest version of that and going, okay, and how does this respond to me and how can I help? How can I work with this energy if it is relevant for me? And I know it is because it was so prominent and dominant in my outside perspective that there's an invitation there, should I choose to take it. And so my choice was, okay, on Monday evening, I sat and I said, okay, remember, I had this ally of the wood snake. And so I sat and I went, okay, so the fire horse is coming. And what does the fire horse mean to me? Well, I have a big relationship with fire, with the Akashic flame, which is the center point of Akashic Reiki, which is literally what was the beginning of creating this whole new healing modality for me, which stemmed from the holy fire. And the holy fire really changed how I worked with Reiki as a way of being. So fire for me is about light and about warmth and about transformation and about wisdom and about creativity. Fire for me is it's not something I'm scared of. It's something that I know to be enlightening, and it holds so many messages and symbols that I do love to sit and metaphorically or literally be mesmerized by the flames. I know not to get too close. I know that it can burn me. I'm not going to sit there and put my hand on it and be like, hey, let's see the message here. But we respect it because it holds a lot of power. And then I think of the horse. And what does the horse mean for me? And the horse came to me in one of my very first shamanic journeys, like nearly 10 years ago now. And for me, the horse is about movement, about moving between worlds, about speed and strength. And I suppose, like the fire, there's also this little bit of trepidation. These are powerful creatures, and I need to respect that. And, you think about how the horses and the humans have worked together for so long, and the love and the respect, and there's so much symbology around the horse. But for me, as I sat with it and not just thought cognitively, but what does the horse mean to me? But invited then the horse in and said, hey, what's up? How are we working together this year? And the horse came and stood by my side and said, invite me in. I'll be your ally. And I thought, hey, that's interesting. It's the same as what the wood snake said to me. I'll be your ally. Which means tending to the horse. Which means not just expecting the horse to show up whenever I call it and whistle, but also caring for it and giving it love and feeding it and knowing it's there and knowing that it's part of my family, if you like. But also knowing that the horse will be there if I need help on my journey, if I need to rest, if I need to be carried. But also the horse will let me lead it should I need to. And there are stirrups and reins. That means that there is an element of control that we as the human can take with that. That there's maybe a better word is a direction that we can do. And that we are somewhat, if we respect the horse and we learn to be with it, we can speed it up and slow it down. We can ask it to turn left and right. And if it's your ally, it's very likely that it's going to work with you. And at the same time, knowing that the horse has such strength and power that it can lead you and guide you and move you. Did you find yourself in that position? And I think it became this thing of what happens? How am I relating to the horse? How am I bringing the fire horse in as a relationship? Because it's here. And I don't claim to understand all of the metaphor and all of the symbology and all of the history. But what I do know is that we've moved into a new cycle. What I do know is numerologically, we're in some very interesting times. And what I do know is that the fire horse feels as if it's something very strong and forward pulling and transforming. And what I do know is that I've spent the last 12 months with the snake as my ally that has been helping me lose the weight, if you like. And I don't just mean physically, which I have, but lose the weight of now what I carry on the horse. So I'm not putting such a burden on the horse. So I'm now not fighting against and carrying the things with me that I didn't need. Now, what was even more interesting for me anyway, was that when I tuned into the wood snake, who was still sitting there in my boardroom, and he moved. He didn't step down. He didn't say, okay, my work here is done. It was, we've built a relationship over the 12 months. I feel the magic. And he hasn't suddenly disappeared, but his prominence has become less. He's become more in the background. And maybe as the days and the weeks and the months go on, he'll slither back into the jungle and go and be where he needs to be. But even the horse and the snake are allies. The horse didn't come and trample him over and go, right, I take over from here. Because we're always moving into something. And I think the invitation here, I think what it means to be the mystic in training is to be in wonder and be in curiosity and ask that question of, well, what does this mean? What is the significance for me? And how, if it feels like there's a resonance and there's a pull, how do I work with this? Not just from the collective unconscious, not just from human to human to human, but also from my higher wisdom and the higher wisdom of the horse, of the fire, of astrology, of the moon, of the sun, of the seasons. Like when you tune in, for me, I realized that nothing's separate. Nothing's separate. They're all representatives. They're all opportunities. They're all understandings of what's happening around us in the skies, in the earth, in the collective. And these systems have been put in place for the cultures that will understand it. I was in a Reiki group the other day in a forum, and someone was asking about Reiki symbology and if they feel this, what does it mean? And if it feels that, what does it mean? And I said to them, Reiki is going to speak in your language. It's not going to give you something that you don't understand. The invitation is, well, what do I know it to mean? The invitation is, how do I get curious about this? And you write it down. You go, okay, well, when it does this, this, when it did that, that, and you'll learn the language. And so I think that if you have found yourself intrigued and interested in any of the things that are happening and any of the things that are going to be happening over the days and the weeks and the months, because there's always something, just tune in, just find out, like, why is it coming into my awareness now? What does this mean for me? Am I curious to go and find out more from reliable sources? Am I seeing the same thing over and over and over again? Is there a bigger message for me here? And then bring in your way and your traditions and your understandings and go, okay, like, is there a crossover? Don't make it, but is there? And for me, I found there was. And for me now, I have this beautiful fire horse standing beside me, sometimes behind, sometimes in front, but being a guide for me over the next 12 months. And that feels a lot more empowering and stabilizing and reassuring than some of the things that I've read that this horse is just going to trample over everything. It's not. So keep your discernment. Notice where you're receiving your information from. Bring your own questions to it. Notice where you're claiming something that is or isn't yours. And bring your mystic into it. Bring your connection into it and notice what happens. I think we're in for some exciting times now. So let's do it with integrity and with dignity and with a lot of fun and a lot of laughs and a lot of love. I'll see you next time.